Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Strategic Trader Group, and this is your end of day market recap. Happy Halloween, everybody! And I will also do a quick recap of the month. I'll try to make this video as comprehensive as possible for you. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. And then what we'll try to do for members is go through and talk about what to look for the month ahead. We'll probably do a separate webinar looking at the value areas, what volume at price is telling us for the next month. We still have more events to get through. We just had a couple big earnings reports hit the tape. So, I mean, it has been a lot of information this week, information overload. So I'll talk about maybe a couple conclusions from this, but clearly this was a big uptick, decent. I don't want to say a big uptick in volatility, but an uptick in volatility nonetheless. And, a month-end washout day. And, these month-end days to me have been more or less, more difficult than easy. I think here was the last, this was September, September 30th. Yeah, and in any event, month-end selling, I would say also contributed to this. And, a couple of the earnings reports from last night that disappointed. Again, the expectations are pretty high for some of these companies, and that's the issue that we're facing. So, before I get to the S&P chart, let's just review today. What got hit the worst? The semi names were down. Some of the semiconductors were down 3.6%. Tech was down 3.2%. And the crypto stuff was down as well today. Bitcoin was down 2.7%, and the crypto stocks were down even more. So I'll bring up those charts for you just in a second. What I find, I'm just going to jump to these numbers really quick. We did not have a positive month for the market, down 1% for the S&P. Small caps were down 1.5%, and the Qs were down very similar to the S&P, down about 90 basis points. So, so first thing first is that I'll try to be a little bit, it's tough to be really positive when you have a day like this, but overall, this is kind of what, September, like usually August, September, October, for me, those are the hardest months to trade. They can be quite difficult. And that's just, seasonality. Now, I know it's a little bit different with an election year, but, the last day of the month, obviously, I think was the trickiest day. And so you just couldn't get out of October. However, if you look forward, generally that the second half, the last couple months, the last 2 months of the year, sorry, I can't speak today. The last 2 months of the year are generally very strong seasonally. So I'll come back. So is it just going to be flipping a switch and all of a sudden, things get better? Well, we do have the election next week. I know some people are very concerned about the election. Some people are not. I think my view is that it can create short-term volatility. But at the end of the day, once the dust settles, you go back to, people go back to looking at companies and, whether or not companies are executing growth stories, themes, and that kind of thing. So, I don't think there's ever been a situation, at least that I'm aware of, that whatever person getting elected really sways the market to the downside anyway that much, right? I think that there can be positive catalysts depending on which candidate. I'm not going to go into that because I don't want to make this a political video and get sidetracked. But overall, a down month, and maybe we're kind of shaking things up a bit and shaking out all that positive sentiment. Okay, so let me come back to these things because I want to get to the technicals, and then we could talk about some takeaways too from this month. But the S&P did come down to the I mean, it's amazing like just how quickly like things can kind of unfold when the price action is tight like this. It was kind of tight all week this week. I did not think that the price action was very good this week. I just think that the first hour of the day, and I get, some people hate when I say this, but when I was an institutional trader, you used to call the first hour of the day amateur hour. But I'll tell you, those amateur hours have been like they've been the best trading opportunities. Things run up. You could get involved in a trade either like pre-market or in the first 5 minutes and watch it go up for a half hour, 45 minutes, and then take the trade off and put it in your pocket. So you have to be accustomed to that. I've been doing this for so long that that's not my favorite strategy. For a while, I was kind of avoiding the first 20 minutes of the day because there would just be too many traps. I do stick to the numbers that say when you buy the close and sell the open, it's much more profitable. But I would say one of the themes, of this week, and with some of these earnings reports, like Root was a good example. There's been one or two of these every single day where they just run. Reddit had a continuation today too, so these earnings surprises, they can have some legs to them. And somebody asked me today, I'm just going to cover this really quick because I find it interesting. Somebody asked me today, they're like, I bought Root today. Do you think it will go up tomorrow? Like, well, number one, I don't have a position in it. If I was confident enough to know, then I would have a position in it. But this is just straight up momentum. And like, these things will go down, some of them, because I think if you've seen this story play out, if you've been trading over the last couple of years, you know that this kind of stuff is great when it goes up, but most of them fall apart. And it's a matter of time. Not all of them, right? Like, I think some of them can stay up there for a while, but, look no further than like what happened with SMCI, right? I mean, and if you look at the weekly chart, and I know like folks like Walter Deemer and so forth who have been trading for longer than I have, this thing plays out over and over and over again. It goes up like this, goes crazy. You try to make as much money, and then you have to recognize when the trend backs out and changes. And again, it's the same. It doesn't matter what the story is. It doesn't matter what, necessarily, right? Well, I guess it does matter what the story is because sometimes the stories can kind of stay for a while. But look at this thing. Give it all back. And how many of these stories have we seen over the last 5 years that have done this? Look at a chart of Tillery, look at a chart of Peloton, look at a chart, so listen, you can give countless examples, but you have to get out of the way when things go like this. Sometimes it's a couple months, sometimes it's a couple weeks, sometimes it's a couple days. So again, there could be some great money to be made, but you have to control your greed for these things too, and just know when it changes. I mean, this is crazy, right? This thing went all the way up past 110 and finishes below $70, right? So first of all, like, if I'm going to participate, and some of you are making huge money on this, congratulations, you're really good traders. If you can put a lot of money in this and then know when to take it off really quickly. I don't mess around with every once in a while I'll participate in something like this, but I usually do it on the small side, and it doesn't make that much difference to my bottom line. But if you're a really good day trader and scalper, then you love these things, then you love these opportunities. So don't let me discourage anybody, right? It's all about whether or not you can, you can get in and get out at the appropriate times with this and size these up appropriately. But I just find it very interesting, what's been going on here. But I'll go back to, I did get sidetracked. I knew I would do it here. But besides this wash down today, like, this was not very good constructive price action. We kept on seeing the first hour of the day, and this is the same thing in the Qs chart this week, right? We kept on seeing these moves up, and then we give it all back. Move up, give it all back. Move up, give it all back, right? And again, trading opportunities, if you're very quick, if you've got a lot of things to manage, if you're working part-time, if you're managing, I'm going to put myself in there, if you're managing a trading room and you're not, your eyeballs aren't on all of your positions at every second, it's harder to get the turns right in this stuff. And I've said that for a while with IWM. IWM goes up a couple days and then it goes right back down for 3 days. And look at the chart of IWM this week. Just yesterday, right, it got to the top of the monthly value area. So this is what this looks like on the daily chart. It got to the top of the monthly value area and got rejected. And I talked about that in yesterday's video. And look at what happened today. Right now, some people love this. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to go out and buy," because it has worked. Depending on, I guess, if you are legging in, right, and your timing is very good at buying the red days, because every time that this thing has fallen, you've been able to make a little bit money. Now, again, it's not trending. It's just it goes up for a couple of days and then it goes right back down, right? So, I mean, some people can, like I said, some people are really good trading like that. Um, it all depends on your style if you're good at a chart like this. For me, it's not really my cup of tea. I don't like trying to time the exact bottom or the exact top, and that's what you've had to do basically, in my opinion, in IWM. So let's go back to these daily charts for a minute. Um, Overall, we're going to be opening up below value for the month of November. So we're going to have some work to do, right? And we did this before in August. We opened up below and buyers came back in. So it's going to be a question of if buyers come back in. Now, again, it is a bull market, and that's the story that's been happening, right? What I would like to see is breadth improve, right? And I put this chart out earlier. You know that I've been talking about this like in the last couple of days, in regards to the the breadth deterioration that we've been seeing, right? We've been seeing more lows in the S&P, the 4-week lows, that is. Again, I look at the 4-week new highs versus new lows because it gives me information faster than looking at the 52-week, right? And if you're more of a long-term trader, then maybe it's okay to look at the 52 weeks, but it will translate. It will get there. If new 4-week lows keep picking up, it will eventually get to the 4-week new highs. Because you could see, for example, there was 25 new highs today and only 10 new lows today. Again, that's not bad, but we've been seeing this now so let me bring up this chart. There we go. You can see on the bottom of your screen, and this does not include today's activity, but you could see for the last week and a half, there's been more generally. I think there's maybe one day in there where there's more new highs, but new lows have been ticking up, which again, when you're at all-time highs, that's not a very good, that's not something that you want to see, right? And that's what we call divergence. Now, this is just new highs, new lows. That's one way of looking at it. You could also look at advancing versus declining, right? This is the NYSE, right, which is the McClellan Summation Index, which basically does just that. Gives you a sense of if more names are going up or going down, right? And more names are going down, right? So what else do I want to cover here? So SPY, we're going to open up below value. And as we get to November, which will be tomorrow, we'll have to see if buyers want to come in. And we've got a jobs report tomorrow. We've got the election next week. We also have a Fed meeting next week, right? I think overall as well, the earnings reports, I would say mixed, and I think more mixed. I was very impressed with the earnings last quarter. It's not to say I'm not filling out an earnings gap list and strength list. I think I have 60 names. So there will be trading opportunities, but I feel like they're in a bit more obscure names. There's a lot of little financial companies that did well. There's smaller tech companies I think are doing well. So I continue to build out that list every day because I think that there will be more opportunities. But it is a market of stocks, and if there's more stocks that are, and I don't have the tally, but I just feel like there's a lot of companies that are also having bad reactions to earnings too. So I'm going to go through sectors with you too. But here's the cues. Again, everything, this is also just above its 50-day moving average. So not a breakdown or anything like that. But I think, and again, I think you kind of have to be, I think that you have to just take one day for what it is. Now, of course, we saw weakening leading up to today, but we'll see if this straightens itself out once we enter November. So one thing I'm a little bit cautious about is everybody's talking about, oh my God, we're going to get better seasonality. We'll see. The institutions have to start to buy. IWM did slip back below the 50-day moving average, right? So again, don't really like this chart. because it's too gappy. It's, you know, it's too sideways for me. But in any event, let's look at the equally weighted S&P. Notice that this is breaking down even further. That broke its 50-day moving average, right? Because more stocks have been going down than they've been going up. How about QQEW, the equally weighted Qs? That also broke its 50-day moving average, right? Because again, more stocks are going down versus going up. What about the Dow? Right. The Dow also broke its 50-day moving average. All right. So like this doesn't scream like go out and start buying the market yet. I think you want to be patient. Right. So if you could have a trading plan, right, that kind of helps you along, right, and waits for this volatility to subside and not give back too much of your profits by getting involved in this stuff until we start to turn higher again, right, and start to see that the breadth improve. That's the game. That's the name of my game. I'm not going to time the bottoms, right? I'm going to wait for some confirmation and then get involved. What about the sectors, right? And I've got this momentum. This is relative strength weakness sector watch list. It's shorter term momentum. I'm looking at the 5, 10, and the 20, 50-day moving average. Let's look at a couple of these sectors really quick, right? There's XLK breaking the 50-day moving average. Now, software just made a new high, you know, yesterday, right? So this came down pretty decently. We'll just have to watch to see how this kind of comes into play. The semis, which are probably the most loved group out there, don't look particularly good, right? It's a lower high, broke the 50-day moving average. You know, is it the end of the world? No, but you know, I don't, I haven't, I've said this for a while. I don't think that's the semis are your leadership area of the market, right? They just haven't they haven't made a new high since July, right? That's not leadership. The industrials have been super strong over the past few months. Not anymore, coming back down to the 50-day moving average. Aerospace and defense, one of your strongest areas of the market. Look at it break down. What's going on here? Is it, folks? I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to get too much into the election stuff, but there's a lot of conflicts going on all over the place. If Trump gets in, does he have the power to kind of end some of these conflicts? If he does, maybe, I mean, that could be why aerospace and defense are breaking down a bit, right? Again, I don't want to talk too politically, but I think and I'm not a military strategist, but the tact of not negotiating with any of our adversaries, I think is a detriment, right? Have you ever heard the expression? You know, this is where I get my information from, but this is the Godfather, right? You keep your friends close and your enemies closer, right? You can't just badmouth people around the world and say, oh my God, they're a dictator. Like we're not ever, we're going to sanction them to death. I mean, I think you have to try to negotiate a little bit first, or revisit it. But anyway, that's my opinion. I just don't like the way that the world is heading, where more and more of these folks seem to be aligning against the U.S. Something has got to change. But I think aerospace and defense, it's been super strong for a reason. There's conflicts all over the place, all over the world. Maybe I'm being dramatic, but in any way, I'll move on. Sorry to insert a little bit of politics, but it's really tough not to watch some of these moves take place. Another strong group has been the financials. Kind of holding it, still holding in a little bit. They had this rough day about 4 days ago, inside, and down again. Right. So again, you have to be careful with some of that. I was watching JP Morgan yesterday, right? Could resolve up, could resolve down. Don't know yet. Have to wait for that break. All right. And I think it's good. I don't know where Amazon is trading here after hours. Again, better of a little bit of a better day to report. But I mean, look at this thing. It's not even going back to where it was yesterday. Right. These things are going to have a tough time. These bigger tech names. Look at Apple selling off now. Right. It just kind of seems like they're saturated at this point. Right. I don't think Google, very nice to go up, and we had a measured, we knew based on the MarketWebs indicator, which I went over yesterday, where we thought it could go to, but are investors, excited about this? it doesn't appear so, as they sold the rip pretty decently. All right, so there's a lot of negative things, and again, I'm trying not to be too negative in this video. Let's look at Bitcoin for a second, right? And the move down in Bitcoin. But I just think it might take a little bit of while for things to get situated. This broke back below. Well, let's see. Maybe this can hold, but it's also coming back to this previous high and a bit of a rejection here. All right, so we'll see where that lands. Sectors. Right. So this is my spreadsheet just to look at. This is a 5-day change. This is the month to date. What did best? So first of all, you could see there's a lot more red. There's a lot more things that went down. So I've been talking about poor market breadth, right? The home builders were down about 7.8%. Solar was down. Healthcare, steel, a lot of different things, a lot of interest rate sensitive groups, with those home builders leading lower like that. Clearly there was a big move higher in interest rates that happened over the last month. Cryptos did very well, right? That got people did very well, positioning into crypto. The regional banks had a good month, up 4%. So again, like some of these groups like going up as much as they did is a pretty bullish thing. And again, we're still in a bull market, right? We're just, we're seeing a lot of deterioration again, which can right itself. Just have to be patient for that. And that's it, guys. I'll leave it there. Like I said, we are going to have a members webinar, at least going to try to do that maybe the beginning of next week. And lastly, I had I gave back a little bit of profits today. Unfortunate. I've been carrying swing trades the whole month, right? Unfortunately, I did not unwind. I have been unwinding a few here and there. But I did not unwind enough and had too much exposure. I had Arista Networks on that went down. I had the last portion of my hood trade on, and I think that was down like 12 or 13% today. So I think I finished up about 4% for the month, 3 or 4% or something like that, which brings me up to, I think I'm up to about 24% for the. I'll double check those numbers and I will report that on Twitter. So I mean, not up leaps and bounds, but I just, I think it's tough to be taking a lot of risk when you see market deterioration like this. Like I said, I think what's worked best is day trading and short-term swing trading. Some of these plays that go up for 2 or 3 days. If not, it was a little bit tougher to make money. And again, it's all based on your conviction, right? If you had great conviction this month, and you took advantage of some of the opportunities earlier in the month, then you may have done better, as long as you locked in some of those gains. But overall, it all depends on your comfort level and how much you want to take. So, being up 24% for the year, that's outperforming. So that's a good thing. And I'm okay with that. Considering that the S&P is up about 20%, the Qs are up about 18%, the small caps are about up 9% for the year. Last year I was up 40%, and maybe I can put together, a couple good months, if the depending on the market opportunities as we get into November. Guys, I hope you did well, and I wish you luck for the last 2 months of the year. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.